Today's video is sponsored by Native Sons Goods, makers of premium quality guitar, bag, and camera straps, handmade in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Check out their website to order your own custom creation and play in style. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it. Hey, how's it going, lads and ladies? Brad the Guitarologist here. In this video, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a hi-fi console stereo from the 1950s. Some of you will remember a video I did a while back on this thing. This is a 1958 RCA stereo orthophonic high fidelity console. And essentially it has a AM/FM tuner and it has a turntable up here. We're not going to do this one today. At some point we are going to do this one, but I'm showing you this one because the one we are going to do today, which is right over here, this one belongs to a customer who brought this by, and this is another orthophonic high fidelity by RCA. Probably from the late 1950s. You can see the little chevron thing right there. We have an indicator light here. We have a turntable here that is pretty much identical to the one in the other machine. Same sort of knob. And also the same sort of trim as you see on the front of that one. You see the, I don't know if that's aluminum or what. Same sort of stuff. So I'm thinking this is probably from around the same era, probably 1958 to 1960, somewhere around in there. This belonged to this girl's grandfather. She inherited it. I think it's one of the, she said it was one of the only things I think she inherited from her grandfather. But she wants me to go through this and do a complete restoration on it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a complete restoration and a service. And also we are going to, as a bonus, convert this thing to operate with Bluetooth. We have phono, radio, tape in it for monaural. And we have stereo, tape, and phono. So what we'll probably end up doing is going into the tape input with our Bluetooth receiver. And I'll show you the easiest way to do it. If you want to fabricate your own stuff, you can fabricate your own stuff. Or you can order a couple of things pre-made that helps you out quite a bit. And I'll show you what to get and how to install it. So if that sounds like something you guys would be interested in, please stick around. All right, before we really get any further, here is the rear of this thing, and this does not have the onboard tuner or tape machine. You have to get those separately and hook those up separately, and you have spots to put those, to plug those in right there, tape and tuner. We're probably going to change that that tape output right there. Or we may not, we may leave it the same, but we'll go in some other way and hardwire our Bluetooth in. But here we could see, what do we have here? Probably 6V6, I'm guessing. It's kind of hard to see. We're going to pull this amp out of here anyway, so we'll get a little better look at it, but this gives us a preliminary look. Transformer code 138816. It's the 16th week of 1958. And like I said, probably a pair of 6V6s and a 5Y3 right there. And this is basically just an amplifier. We have a CG7 up there. Looks like maybe another CG7. Is that what that is? Maybe. I have not looked up anything on this yet, so I don't have the schematic or anything like that. We probably won't even need a schematic for this thing in order to do it. This is a model SHP-8. It is a Victrola by RCA Victor. Oh, here we go, tube chart. Yeah, see, I was right. 6V6s, 5Y3 rectifier, and 6 CG7 preamp in all 3 stages. You see a 1958 code on this one too, 11th week, so it's pretty early in the production run for these. Speakers are all original. 274 is RCA, and that's the 39th week of 1957 on that one. And the same on this one. So original RCA. Very nice speakers. I don't know if, is that a rip on that one? Is that a rip? No, it's not a rip. It's where something was nesting or something. Probably a wasp or something at some point. Dirt dauber maybe. Original RCA's here as well. 38th week of 1957 on these little tweeters. And you can see how they're arranged. They're arranged to kind of fire in opposite directions there. Here's the bottom side of the turntable, which we will pull out of here and completely lube up and completely restore. So yeah, this is going to be a real fun one. And how interesting is it that we have two of these very rare RCA orthophonic stereo consoles in the same room. All right, before we take this turntable completely out, I want to just see what this thing is doing or not doing. I'm just kind of curious. The customer said they had already tried plugging it in and everything, and it doesn't really work as it should. But you know, normally I wouldn't do this, but let's see. Pull this to turn on. The light comes on. Oh, I can tell that that turntable is just frozen solid. Oh, I can already smell something. That smells like red plating tube. Right there, red plating tube. Ooh, that's... That was a red plating 5Y3. Well, at least the transformer, we know the transformer works. Ooh, it's a little bit shaky. Red plating 5Y3 is not good. That, I wonder, yeah, see that one right there is getting hot too. I bet you that's probably, we got a shorted, I guarantee we've got a shorted something in the power. I bet you one of these can caps right here are shorted, and I bet you that's bad too now. Okay, so we know the main problem in this is probably going to be something in the power supply. We are obviously going to go ahead and do a full recap on this, a restoration, but we know the power transformer at least works because we were getting power to it. Nothing else is hot, so I think we're okay on that front. That 5Y3 right there is cooking. That sucker was cooking. Nothing else is even warm. But that sucker right there is. I would say that tube is probably shorted, and probably something in here is also shorted, and one probably caused the other. But probably the number one thing that I used to diagnose this quickly was my nose, because within about 5 seconds of this thing being on, I could start to smell the burning dust, and then there's a very particular burning dust smell. That's dust that's getting hot very quickly, very hot very quickly. And if you looked on top of the tubes, you could see all the dust that's there, and you kind of learn that smell after a while. You learn what that is, and you can see all the dust on top of that 5Y3, but I could smell that dust right there cooking, and that was the first tip off that we had a problem. And sure enough, we had a red plating 5Y3 tube. Okay, here we are underneath this turntable, and usually to get these things out of here, you've got some little legs that poke through, like right there. And this one looks like these turn. That's a piece of rubber there for isolation, and it looks pretty worn. It's cracked anyway. We've got another one here. So there's two of them. It's just odd to me that it would be like, oh, okay, so you just squeeze. That's all you got to do. So you take this little device and squeeze, and then it just opens up. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, so all we have to do now is just unplug the phono input. That's the signal input, and then you have the power. Oh, damn. Felt like it never been unplugged before. Alright, so here we are with this turntable out on the bench, and let's get started on it. First thing we're going to want to do is remove the platter from this spindle. And this one is pretty well seized. I could tell that right off the bat. The other thing I want to note about this turntable is that it's got an MG for microgroove right here, and then when you want to do 78, you just press this down and then go to the side, and that puts it on the 78 needle. And if you were to look underneath, you would see those needles change. Now we're going to have to probably come up with something different for this tone arm, and I'm probably going to recommend that they go to a magnetic cartridge of some type, or maybe even or at least like a ceramic cartridge. I'm wondering too if it has any kind of output signal at all. We can figure all that out a little bit later, and for right now we'll just service the mechanism part and get all of that working. Well, this adapter says Zenith on it. It says Zenith Radio Corporation. So I doubt this is the correct adapter. Something tells me it's not. But we can deal with all that a little later. For now, let's go ahead and get this platter off of here. Let's get it freed up. And like I said, it is frozen. It's solid. You can see the little clip down in there. And what I would need to do is get something in here that will spread these apart enough, you know, so I can push it out the back edge. Okay, there it is. I got it. What I ended up doing was taking two flathead screwdrivers and putting one down on this side and pushing one way, and the other on the other side and pushing the other way, and then kind of lifting up on them, and I was able to get it like that. So, and it didn't fling across the room, which is a win. Okay, now the fun of removing this platter begins. Might be a bit of an ordeal to get it, but we're going to start with some WD-40 just to loosen it up. We'll let that seep down in there for a little bit, and then we'll come back to it and then work on it some more. Basically what we want to do right now is just loosen this platter up to the point we can get it. It's already loosening. There, it's working itself down in there. Like I said, we just want to get it to the point where it's loose enough we can get it off. There we go. So that was easy enough. That was actually far easier than I expected it to be. There's the bottom of the platter. We want to make sure that we didn't have it. There we go. See that little piece right there? I want to make sure that we set this washer aside and don't lose it. And we'll have to clean all this grease off of this piece. And down in here is the bearing, and we'll have to clean all the grease off the bearing as well and re-lubricate it. Oh gosh, we have got a cracked, a very, very cracked and very disheveled looking wheel rubber here. Let's see the cracks in that. That's going to require a complete replacement of that piece. That's not rejuvenable. Sometimes you can rejuvenate these parts, but this one's not going to happen. That's not the only part. There's a rubber part right there it's on its last legs. There's a couple more rubber parts over there that are gone, and if those are gone, that means pretty much everything in this turntable is going to be gone. I would expect all of them to be in the same sort of condition. So I'm going to have to do some research, and this is a point at which I might pause and check out the internet and see if I'm going to be able to get any of these parts. Okay, this website is called thevoiceofmusic.com. If you're not familiar with it and you do this kind of stuff, you need to get familiar with it because it's a good website. The guy who runs it's also very, very helpful if you ever have to email him for any reason. I've emailed him in the past about other things, and he's always been very helpful. I forget his name offhand. But you can go here and you can go to Idler Wheels and Turrets, and you can select your brand, and in our case it's RCA. And here's the thing, on some of these idler wheels you have to send it in for verification that it's correct, like if you have an oddball set, something like that. But in this case, I believe we have found the one that we need. Here's the wheel that we have, and you can see that little indentation there in the middle. And it matches up pretty much identically with this one right here. So that's the one we need, 1434. And on some of these, it requires you to send in your old one. And what he does is he has these already made up and ready to go, refurbished, and he'll sell you on the condition that you send the other one in. So when he receives it, you know, he'll send you the new refurbished one. So it's kind of like a you don't have to wait on it. Now on this particular one, it says right here, it's no trade-in required, outright sale. So he has apparently plenty of these, and it's available for $28. So that's kind of saved my bacon on this part. We're going to have to find these other parts here. I believe these are called turrets. So I'm going to have to drop these in a package and send them off to the gentleman who refurbishes these. And these are $20 a piece. So I think what I'm going to do before I go and spend my own money, you know, we just need to make sure that she's committed to wanting this done and done properly, because you could skimp on this a little bit if you're only planning on, for instance, doing 33 records on this thing. You could just replace that middle one right there and save yourself 40 bucks and just use these, because that one's a 16 RPM. You'll probably never use that. I could go ahead and replace it, and it would be nice to have it, you know, fully refurbished. But also, if you stuck that one right back in there, you probably would never notice it, because you probably never would play any 16 RPM records. The 33, on the other hand, will get used all the time. The 45 will get used quite a bit too, I'm sure. So these two, I can definitely see replacing. That 16, you know, that's a bit iffy. I probably wouldn't even replace that if it was mine. Now this wheel right here, other than that crack that goes all the way across, and even that crack is smooth from one side to the other. I mean, you could use this. You could use all of these as they are. So that you know, that's the thing. I want to make sure that she's really committed to restoring this properly, because that's a lot of money sitting there. There's like 30 bucks to replace that one and 20 each on those. So you're looking at, you know, easily 100 bucks just in replacing those 4 pieces right there. So so yeah, you can see my dilemma. I definitely don't want to just go ahead and order willy-nilly without consulting them first. So that kind of means this project is on hold for the evening, really. I could go ahead and dive into this turntable and go ahead and lubricate the rest of it in anticipation of her answering yes, go ahead and do it. But then I would pretty much lose out on all that if she said no. All the effort would be wasted. So I'm going to set this aside, I believe, and what I will do instead is go ahead and pull the amplifier chassis, because if nothing else, the amplifier could definitely be used, and the turntable could probably be replaced with a more modern turntable in this unit. But she would have all the modern convenience of a more modern turntable, because the thing is also, the cartridge on this one is really going to need to be replaced. That cartridge is, I am certain, a crystal cartridge. It looks like a crystal one to me. Yeah, see, you can just tell by the size of that. That's got to be a crystal cartridge. But you can see what I mean about how it works. Push it on that side and it pushes forward the 78 needle. And push it this way and it pushes forward the micro groove needle. By the time you've replaced a cartridge and the associated wiring, if you went to a more modern, you know, like magnetic or ceramic, or, you know, at least ceramic if not magnetic cartridge, and also by the time you know, replace these parts, you know, you can see the dilemma here. You can see the temptation to want to just say, you know what, I don't necessarily need the old turntable to operate. I could just get something a little more modern and stick in there. So I want to do some talking to this customer before we proceed. And pardon me also, actually there's another one of these that needed replacing also. I kind of had it set off to the side and forgot about it. This one would also need replacing. So you got 20, 40, 60, 80, and then another about 30 bucks for this one. So, you know, 110 bucks, and that's before shipping both ways, because I'd have to ship these out to them. So, you know, and then for my trouble, I'd have to make a little something on that transaction. Not much. I mean, I probably wouldn't even do that. I just make my money up elsewhere in the project. But you get what I'm saying here. There's, you know, going to be, you know, at least 120 bucks in expense just in replacing these parts right here, and that's not even to mention doing something about the cartridge, and all the time for me to refurbish this, which is going to probably take me an hour and a half anyway to fully disassemble and re-lubricate this thing. So I mean, that's another 90 bucks or so in just labor. So is this thing worth 200 and what would it be, about 200, probably 250 bucks by the time it was all done? So, you know, that's some significant money. So I think what I'm going to do is really have a heart-to-heart with them on this one.